All right, welcome everybody to today's Deepak Show right? Okay. We are just moments away. Oh, I'm muted? Oh, no. No, I'm kidding. We are just moments away from congressional hearings on Gamestonk, Reddit, WallStreetBets, DFV, Robinhood, etc. Okay? And I expect that these are going to be very compelling, very, very compelling. So I'm glad that you're with me. And by the way, just by sheer chance, 2 hours from now, NASA's Perseverance Mars rover is scheduled to land on Mars. So we may even be here for that. And we may even have a live broadcast from NARS, GNARS. So a lot of different things going on. It's going to be very, very interesting. And I'm glad you're with me. Chakaseki coming in with a message about Ted Cruz, who says Ted Cruz's new mullet and characteristic slouched posture make him a dead giveaway at the airport as he was caught fleeing from work and Antifa. Yeah, I have that right here. This guy is unbelievable. Ted Cruz, in the middle of disgusting power outages, in great part caused by Texas Republicans refusing 10 years ago to winterize primarily nuclear, coal, and natural gas plants and also wind turbines. Ted Cruz voted no for money for New York and New Jersey in 2012 after Hurricane Sandy, demands massive dumps of money from the federal government, and here he is yesterday going to Cancun. Ted Cruz is part of the political party that is based in part on the idea that Mexicans are all desperate to come to the United States to flee Mexico. Here is a picture of Ted Cruz fleeing the United States for Mexico. And I think we have a picture of him here. He is on the plane. This is yesterday. This very quickly became a PR fiasco. So we figured out that here is Cruz. He rebooked himself on a flight back today. And I guess that, I don't know if this is a joke, but I guess there was a claim that he was just going for moral support with his family and was going to come back or something like that. But he had big luggage. Like, you don't need that much luggage for one day. It's all completely nuts. And now Ted Cruz standing by. Wait, where was that last image? Oh, this is my Twitter. That's weird. Ted Cruz standing by for an upgrade to business class. Anyway, so that's what's going on there. Absolutely nutty story with Ted Cruz. And the guy's a joke. He should resign. He's disgusting, etc., etc. You guys all know that. All right. Other super chats, people shot out of a cannon today. Thanks for the shout out in yesterday's show, says Quincy Vigel. It's sad power outages have turned political. Oh shit. No wonder. Yeah, Quincy Vigel is a meteorologist. Oh my God. Now I was like, oh yeah, Quincy, right. By chance, I came across a tweet from Quincy Vigel, a meteorologist, showing that the places having the power outages are places that are disproportionately reliant on fossil fuel energy, not wind turbines. And Quincy is here. Beautiful. Appreciate it. If you ever need weather, climate science info, love to help out. Beautiful. I like that. All right. Richard says, gotta check out a clip from Roaring Kitty's YouTube. He's the guy testifying and he's electric. Yeah, I'm looking forward to these hearings. Very much so. And Daniel Johnson says, our government is so corrupt, they are probably going to declare WallStreetBets is a terrorist organization and bail Robinhood out. I'm taking bets. Yeah, we'll see. I'm expecting a lot of very, very wacky things. Big thank you to that crazy guy NT, as well as DMB205, Tangela Irene, I think is the right way to parse that. And big thank you to Astro Lycos for gifting 5 subs on Twitch. That's 7 in total, my friends, and a real crooked number that we're putting up on the board. Let's see. I have a few other things to get to. Yeah, I have Troy York voicemails. Yesterday, we allowed the audience to decide whether I play Troy York voicemails or not. I guess we can do that again. I have a poll question ready here. Should I play Troy York voicemails today? I'm going to paste it a few times in Twitch. I'm going by the audience voting. Okay, so people don't just vote. Don't complain, just vote. Now I'm pasting it here in YouTube. And you can start voting right now, and then that will be how we decide whether or not to play Troy York voicemails. Wow, overwhelmingly no right now. Switching to yes. The ayes have it only a little bit right now. Yesterday, by a 2-1 margin, the yes vote won. Not quite getting that 2/3 support today with 134 votes so far. The question is, I have a few Troy York voicemails. Should I play them? 67% yesterday roughly said play them. Only 58% today saying play them. 284 votes so far. Wow, people more aggressively voting today. In the meantime, I'll answer other questions. Will Biden get money out of politics? No, he will not. They need to ask Melvin if he shorted XRT to cover GME and if they are still short XRT. If they are, they have been lying publicly and in their testimony. Whoa, sorry about that. All right, we'll let this go. We'll let this go a little more. The no's making a run for it on Troy York voicemails today. Yesterday, the no's only had about 1/3, and today they have 46% right now. Maybe we'll let it go to the first 500 votes or so. I don't know. Some people demanding the vote be stopped. 406 votes, 54% say play the voicemails. 46% say do not play the voicemails. 420, 430, 440. It does look like the yeses still have it and are in control, although not by much. Now down to only 53%, the slimmest of margins. This may go into a runoff. I mean, it's only two options, so I guess the runoff would be the same. I don't know. 459. I think I'm calling it. I mean, the vote has slowed down enough that I believe I am calling it. Yeah, 474. All right, that's a yes. Let's take a listen to a couple of Troy York voicemails. My feeling is that at some point soon, the no's will have it. But for today, let's listen.
Hey, yeah, this is Wally Jackson. I was watching your Joe Biden town hall, and
what's funny is I didn't do the Joe Biden town hall.
Just wondering why you didn't say nothing about how this man, he's so obviously suffering from dementia. He has trouble finishing sentences. He stops, he pauses, he's having trouble thinking.
Have you seen Trump speak?
He hesitates as he talks. He gets confused. I recall that you attacked President Trump for some of his mannerism, and now that you choose to ignore when Joe Biden, I mean, this man clearly is so old and senile. He's unfit. I don't think he should even finish a year.
Yep, Biden thinks before he talks, and Troy York doesn't like it. So that's one Troy York voicemail. Here's another one.
No, Pac-Man, you lie. In a desperate attempt to placate to the Chinese and Russian and the foreign energy sectors who wish to take advantage of our destruction of the fossil fuels by the corrupt Democrat Party and their massive regulations against America being energy independent.
All right, I'm going to have to get away from it because someone's just continually calling the voicemail line. So anyway, these Troy York voicemails are getting really boring, so this may be the end of the Troy York stuff. Okay, next, I am going to adjudicate a few unban requests on Twitch. Twitch has a mechanism. If you want to be unbanned, you can request it. Yesterday, someone requested I get a gavel for when I adjudicate these, and someone offered to make a $50 donation if I get a squeaky gavel, so I ordered one. I'll have it for next week, and I will be able to use a squeaky gavel when I adjudicate these. Let's start with a user who has sent 15 messages. You guys can help me adjudicate. This guy is selling us all down the river. I remember when David used to stand up against the Democrats. Now he would never. I guess he doesn't read messages unless you pay him. That will never happen if you ignore chat 24/7. What don't you fall in line and agree with that Biden does? I'm guessing nothing. David used to be with the people and now he's just a shill. You should feel shame for being white. David is a full-blown idiot now. Then they were banned. Their unban request is F you for supporting this shill. All right, so that's going to be perma. That one's denied. Next one, Trump 2024, Trump 2024, Trump 2024, banned. Their unban request is censorship F you, David Pakman is wrong, what with America? That's going to be perma-ban, denied. The gavel of justice has struck. Next unban request, here is their messages that got them banned. Biden admin vetting questions from the press, LMAO. They are literally doing nothing the Trump admin wasn't already doing. What was false? And then they were banned. I don't know about this one. Their unban request is what a weak moderator. Hey, that was false, I say, and then I get banned. I'm going to unban. This person is an idiot, but I don't believe they deserve to be banned. So that one I'm adjudicating as unban. And then just one other one. A user says, why is Trump perma banned on Twitter? The election is over. Stop the cancel culture. Sitting presidents are above terms of service. Either way should not be permanent. January 5, you mean the day of the Senate elections? The libs' bad faith takes kill me. They were banned. They said, I'm conservative, but banning public discourse is not helpful. Yeah, I'm going to unban this person. I don't think they need to be banned for that. Definitely an unban. As you guys can see, I am very, very flexible with these. That was a weak ban. I agree. And sometimes bans are necessary as timeouts, and that's okay. But that's an unban. That's definitely an unban. As you know, we really are only keeping out the most toxic of folks. So those are two permas and two unbans today. And soon I will have a gavel for when we adjudicate these. So that's coming very soon. David, what are your thoughts on Chris Hedges' idea that all the delusion and conspiracy we're seeing is due to cultural despair and societal trauma? I don't know. I haven't seen his explanation. All right, it looks like this is starting.
Your camera's on, and if you choose to attend a different remote proceeding, please turn your camera off. Today, we will make an exception and allow members from Texas to participate without their video function if they are experiencing power outages that prevent them from having their videos working. If members wish to be recognized during the hearing, please identify yourself by name to facilitate recognition. I would also ask that members be patient as the chair proceeds, given the nature of conducting committee business virtually.
All right.
So this hearing is entitled Gamestop: Who Wins and Loses When Short Sellers, Social Media, and Retail Investors Collide.
It's already good.
I now recognize myself for 3 minutes to give an opening statement. Good afternoon, everyone. This hearing will be the first in a series of hearings for the committee to examine the recent market volatility involving GameStop.
So I'm going to step in just a little bit. We really want to get to the questioning is what people are here for, and we're only partially through with our business. So we're going to watch this hearing and the questions, and I already got some messages from people asking about the Mars rover landing scheduled for about 2 hours from now. My goal is to cover that in 2 hours, and I already have a stream ready to go. I am very excited about this. Really, really, really excited. So we're hopefully going to get to that in a couple of hours. But for now, we are focusing on the Robinhood Gamestonk hearings, and those are going to be really, really exciting. It may be a long stream today. The more members we have, the more the stream will go on. That's the unfortunate reality. Other questions coming in. Give us more of that beautiful Rio Platense, you succulent little zook. Oh my God. Is flan from a box with powder insulting to you? Absolutely. The other day, I got a flan for takeout from a restaurant. It was a custard. These people were misrepresenting flan They gave me a custard as if I'm from Argentina. You think I'm not going to know what a flan is? Okay, anyway. Yes, it's very, very insulting. And Stephen Robbins says, D-Man, legendary hair day. Keep up the good work. Yes, absolutely. Would I ever have Orly Taints back on for a laugh? Maybe. I'm kind of over her at this point. Flan should have only 3 ingredients, Argentinian flan. Sugar, eggs, and milk. That's it. But at the bottom, you need to get the caramel. Yeah, that's the reality. All right, let's get in here. This is getting going. We are soon going to start hearing testimony.
Belief that the system is rigged against them has been reinforced. Others have noted that there are winners and there are losers in every trade in our financial markets. Our role as a Financial Services Committee is to ensure fairness in our financial markets and system, robust protections for investors, and accountability for Wall Street. Today, we will hear firsthand from the witnesses regarding these events. The hearing will be an opportunity for this committee to get the facts about the role each of the entities, the witnesses represent, played in the events we are examining today. Now, I recognize the ranking member of the committee, the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. McHenry, for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. And let me just begin by saying I believe Americans are far more sophisticated, informed, and capable than people in D.C. give them credit for. When I called for this hearing last month, I wanted this to be a fact-finding mission. We have speculation, we have headlines and finger-pointing, but we don't have the facts. We need facts, not just the salacious bits or nasty comments on Reddit. And look, there's plenty of that. We need the facts today.
It's already good.
Some on the left are already floating new restrictions or things to, quote, protect these so-called uninformed retail investors who, in their eyes, don't know the difference between the Dogecoin and the Dow Jones.
Dogecoin. Oh, my God.
I think if we've learned anything from the past few weeks,
it's already brilliant.
Average everyday investors are pretty darn sophisticated. There is wisdom to the crowd. So let's zoom out on that idea just for a moment. The GameStop story represents a larger truth. A fundamental change is happening. Like never before, everyday investors can communicate, access more information, and work collectively to move markets, all in real time. Technology is fueling this revolution. Congress cannot put technology back in the box. GameStop is the culmination of years of pent-up frustration. That frustration.
So we're 5 minutes in. We've had Dogecoin as meme number 1 and also a Skype call infinity loop where it's off to a flying start.
To pay off their student debt from the GameStop trade. Or conversely, every story of somebody who lost money. There were stories of those who said they were investing in protest. In protest. They would gladly risk losing money just to prove a point. And now, and while no one should ever risk investing money that they cannot afford to lose, let's tell the truth of why someone would do something like that. The sad truth is the K-shaped economy is nothing new in our capital markets because the structural core of our regulations literally enshrined in equity. Policies like the accredited investor definition blatantly pick winners and losers. If you're wealthy, you're good to go. And if you're not, you're deemed too dumb to be trusted with your own money. So a privileged few get to invest alongside Ivy League endowments, getting early access in private markets to the greatest returns of the last 2 generations. But not so fast for the average everyday investor. In the eyes of our government, you need to be protected. Protected from your own decisions, protected from your own money, protected from more opportunities. So you're left with a savings account which pays no interest. And if you need more money than that, well, we created a world where it's easier to go buy a lottery ticket than it is to invest in the next Google. Is it any wonder why the unhealthy dynamics of GameStop happened? It's time we get serious about equity and
this is the epitome of faux right-wing populism.
We should live in a world where the construction worker or Uber driver trading on Robinhood has the same access to equity shares in Robinhood itself as the white-collar employees who work there. Same goes for Reddit and Reddit users, by the way. Both contributed to its success. Why can't both share in its future success?
Imagine if every Reddit user was a part owner of Reddit. That would be an interesting concept.
More and more. In the 1980s, Massachusetts state regulators barred citizens from investing in what the Wall Street Journal called the latest in a cascade of stocks of high technology companies that occurred that year. What IPO was too risky in the eyes of the government? Apple. So instead of shutting the American public out through new regulations, new forms of taxation, or so-called protections, let's use this opportunity instead to side with them. So I'll begin where I started.
This is crazy.
Americans are far more sophisticated, informed, and capable than folks in D.C. give them credit for. And it's time our securities laws treat them that way. I look forward to the hearing, and I yield back.
Okay.
Thank you so very much. I'm so pleased that you are cooperating today and you were eager to join with us when we call for this committee. So I want to welcome today's distinguished witnesses to the committee. Mr. Vlad Tenev is the Chief Executive Officer of Robinhood Markets Incorporated, a company with a trading app that, after increased trading activity in Gamestop and certain other stocks, restricted trading of those stocks for a period of time. Mr. Kenneth C. Griffin is the Chief Executive Officer of Citadel, LLC, a fund which is one of Robinhood's main customers and sources of revenue, which also provided financial support to Melvin Capital Management, LP, when Melvin faced significant losses over GameStop and other trades. Gabriel Cohen is the Chief Executive Officer of Melvin Capital Management, LP, which held a significant short position in GameStop.
Reddit user Humongous will be joining us to explain certain memes they made.
Huffman is the Chief Executive Officer, co-founder of Reddit, a social media platform which is home to the subreddit WallStreetBets, where retail investors discuss trading and where a large number of members discuss the purchase of GameStop and other stocks which experience volatility. Mr. Keith Gill is a retail investor who posted...
I don't know why listening to these folks talk about like internet culture, it's just one of the funniest things.
Goff is a director of financial regulation studies at the Cato Institute. Without objection, your written statements will be made part of the record. Each of you will have 5 minutes to summarize testimony.
Oh boy.
Chairman here. It was I believe that there are only 3 minutes of Democratic opening statements with the idea that the subcommittee chair on the Democratic side would be called as well. That's what I was told by your staff.
Well, thank you very much. If that is the order that has been organized, I will cease my introductions and I will call on you, Mr. Sherman, to please go ahead and make an opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Back in the day, the law school professor would create an exam where he'd weave together a story that would exemplify each of the issues in that area of the law. But never did the professor do it as good a job as the GameStop saga, which identifies most of the issues facing our capital markets. Short selling. Could there be limits or required additional disclosures? What do we do with market participants, whether they be on Reddit or on Wall Street, who are shorting a stock or buying a stock for the purpose of influencing its price? What is this payment for order flow model? And what does it mean when some participants get best execution and some get enhanced best execution? In price enhanced best execution, and all traders being treated fairly, and is payment for order flow free to the consumer? We need to look at the plumbing, where it takes 2 days to settle a transaction, but also why is it the broker's capital rather than the customer's capital that is posted during the 2-day period? And finally, we need to look at the gamification and glorification of high frequency trading. I thank the chairwoman for the time, and I hope that in the months to come, we have several hearings to explore these issues and that we're able to pass legislation this year to deal with each of them. And I yield back.
Thanks to Rin Somerville for the website membership. Thanks,
the
Rin.
Chairman of the Subcommittee of Oversight and Investigations, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, for 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to express some concerns that I have. It is a fact that Citadel Securities has paid over $100 million in penalties. And my concern is this. It deals with whether we can allow a market maker's profits from misleading clients and improperly trading ahead of clients to become something as simple as
Honestly, can't they get everybody a headset and just say plug this thing in, and that would deal with 90% of the audio problems they have?
I'm concerned, and my hope is that we'll get some additional intelligence on how these punishments have impacted the rewards that have been received. I yield back.
Thank you very much. And I will go back to the introduction of our witnesses. I left off with Jennifer Sklupp, Director of Financial Regulation Studies at the Cato Institute. Without objection, your written statements will be made part of the record. Each of you will have 5 minutes to summarize your testimony. You should be able to see a timer on your screen that will indicate how much time you have left. And a chime will go off at the end of your time. I would ask you to be mindful of the timer and quickly wrap up your testimony if you hear the chime. Now, before we begin with your oral testimonies, I would like to swear in the witnesses. I will call each of your names individually to respond. Would you please raise your hands? Do you solemnly swear to affirm that the testimony you will give before this committee in the matters now under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Mr. Tennell?
I do.
Mr. Griffin?
I do.
Mr. Plotkin? Mr. Plotkin?
I was muted. I apologize. I do.
Thank you. Mr. Huffman?
I do.
Mr. Gill?
I do.
Ms. Sklupp?
I do.
Thank you very much. Let the record show that all of the witnesses answered in the affirmative. We will now begin with their oral testimonies.
Dear
Mr.
God.
Tennell, you are recognized for 5 minutes to present your oral testimony.
Chairwoman Waters, Ranking Member McHenry, members of the committee. My name is Vlad Tenev.
Oh, it's
I'm the
this
Chief
guy.
Executive Officer and co-founder of Robinhood. Thank you for the invitation to speak about Robinhood and the millions of people we serve. Almost 8 years ago, Beju Bhatt and I founded Robinhood. We believed then, as we do now, that the financial system should be built to work for everyone, not just a select few. We dreamed of making investing more accessible, especially for people without a lot of money. The stock market is a powerful wealth creator, but nearly half of U.S. households participate in it.
Mr. Staff, I would like you to use your limited time to talk directly to what happened January 28th and your involvement in it.
Certainly.
Madam Chair, the witness has the opportunity to give their own testimony.
Excuse me, you are
Use your
not
time for your questioning.
Oh, this is the
you are
best.
not recognized, Mr. Please go right ahead and speak
Mister,
directly
you're
to
not
the record.
recognized.
Mr. McHenry, yes, of course.
We created Robinhood to economically empower all Americans by opening financial markets to them. I was born in Bulgaria, a country with a financial system that was on the verge of collapse. At the age of 5, I immigrated with my family to America in search of a better life. I have benefited from all America has to offer. and Robinhood's mission to democratize finance for all has a very special significance for me. Robinhood's platform allows people from all backgrounds to invest with no account minimums and zero commissions. Contrary to some very misleading and highly uninformed reports, we see evidence that most of our customers are investing for the long term with features like fractional shares, dividend reinvestment, recurring investments. Our customers can start with small amounts and grow their investments in blue chip stocks and ETFs over time. We've always recognized the responsibility that comes with helping people invest. We'll continue to enhance our educational platform to help customers no matter where they are in their financial journey. Hundreds of free educational resources are available to everyone on our Learn website right now. While markets fluctuate, this tells me our business model is working for
Mike Myers definitely should play this guy on SNL. That's a good idea.
Assets on Robinhood exceeds the net amount of money they have deposited with us by over $35 billion. This tells me our business model is working for everyday Americans, the Robinhood community. Many people say that Robinhood has helped them to pay car loans, reduce student loan debt, meet daily bills, save for the future, and we're proud to serve them. You've invited me today to discuss the events of last month, and I welcome this opportunity. In late January, many brokerage firms saw a massive increase in trading activity in a handful of stocks. Prices were moving dramatically day to day, even hour to hour. One specific day, January 28th, proved to be a completely unprecedented event. The spike in trading activity and volatility meant that Robinhood Securities, our clearing broker, had to hold the line and post additional firm capital as collateral to support our clearinghouse deposit demand.
It's interesting that they've taken over the phrase "hold the line" now too.
The requirement was 10 times more than on January 25th. As a result, Robinhood Securities, along with many other firms...
Someone's just clapping the erasers in the background. I mean, it's just a congressional hearing, right?
We began allowing limited buys of these securities the following day, and we have since lifted the restrictions entirely. There are 2 points I want to make clear about these temporary restrictions. First, Robinhood Securities put the restrictions in place in an effort to meet increased regulatory deposit requirements, not to help hedge funds. We don't answer to hedge funds. We serve the millions of small investors who use our platform every day to invest. Second, Robinhood immediately secured additional funds. Altogether, through capital raising and other measures, we've increased our liquidity by more than $3 billion to cushion ourselves against increased collateral requirements and related market stress in the future. Despite the unprecedented market conditions in January, at the end of the day, what happened is unacceptable to us. To our customers, I'm sorry and I apologize. Please know that we are doing everything we can to make sure this won't happen again.
But wait, if they did everything right, what's he apologizing for?
One more thing. The existing 2-day period to settle trades exposes investors and the industry to unnecessary risk. There is no reason why the greatest financial system in the world cannot settle trades in real time. I believe we can and should act now to deploy our intellectual capital and our engineering resources to move to real-time settlement. Together, we can solve this. Before I close, I want to sincerely thank the millions of customers who continue to use Robinhood to access the markets every day. We are grateful and committed to you. Members of the committee, I appreciate the opportunity to answer your questions.
All right.
Mr. Griffin, you are now recognized for 5 minutes to present your oral testimony.
Chairman Waters, Ranking Member McHenry, distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today on the recent market events. The U.S. capital markets are the envy of the world. Our nation's ability to allocate capital to its best and highest use creates jobs, drives innovation, and fuels our economy. America's retail investors play an important role in our capital markets. According to Gallup, about 55% of Americans own stock right now.
So as they do the introductions, we're really all here for the questions, but this is already a pretty epic hearing. Technical issues plaguing them and confusion about procedure and everything. It's all very weird. This is going to go on for some period of time. In about an hour and 50 minutes, coverage will start of NASA's Mars rover landing. I'm really excited about it, and we're planning to cover that as well. So we have a lot of interesting things ahead of us today. I'm glad that everybody is here and watching. I see a lot of people sending super chats and sending a lot of messages, and the questioning is going to start very, very soon. I do want to say thanks to Dan Murphy as well as Christopher Hendrickson. Both of them signed up at joinpacman.com, and I absolutely love that. I really do appreciate your support. Yes, we are here for the Gamestop hearings. And I am looking for the full list of folks who will be asking questions. I believe AOC will. I look forward to seeing AOC ask questions to that Vlad guy. That should be pretty compelling. And we're going to be standing by for those questions momentarily.
Colleges, hospitals, foundations, and research institutions. In 2002, my partners and I founded Citadel Securities. Today, Citadel Securities is one of the world's preeminent market makers. We have been a leader in using technology to transform our markets, particularly for retail investors. Citadel Securities invests hundreds of millions of dollars each year to serve the needs of our customers. In the last week of January, the importance of this investment was on full display. During the period of frenzied retail equities trading, Citadel Securities was able to provide continuous liquidity every minute of every trading.
These are like advertisements.
When others were unable, Citadel Securities was there. On Wednesday, January 27th, we executed 7.4 billion shares on behalf of retail investors. To put this into perspective, on that day, Citadel Securities executed more shares for retail investors than the entire average daily volume of the entire U.S. equities market.
He was also drinking Bud Light Lime while doing the entire thing. Bud Light Lime, refreshing, citrusy, and that flavor you've known to come and love from Bud.
Deliver in all market conditions and underscores the critical importance of our resilient and stable systems. I could not be more proud of our team at Citadel Securities. My colleagues who were committed to ensuring that the interest of America's retail investors were served during this extraordinary period. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to appear today, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Mr. Plotkin, you are now recognized for 5 minutes to present your oral testimony.
Chairwoman Waters, Ranking Member McHenry, and members of the committee, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to share Melvin Capital's perspective on the recent trading activity in GameStop. I am the founder and chief investment officer of Melvin Capital. I am humbled by these unprecedented events. Many investors on all sides have experienced losses. I am here today to share my own personal experience and to be helpful in this conversation. I understand that part of the focus of this hearing is the decision of stock trading platforms to limit trading in GameStop. I want to make clear at the outset that Melvin Capital played absolutely no role in those trading platform decisions. In fact, Melvin closed out all of its positions in GameStop days before the platforms put those limitations in place. Like you, we learned about those limits from news reports. I also want to make clear at the outset that contrary to many reports, Melvin Capital was not bailed out in the midst of these events. Citadel proactively reached out to become a new investor, similar to the investments others make in our funds. It was an opportunity for Citadel to buy low and earn returns for its investors if and when our fund's value went up. To be sure, Melvin was managing through a difficult time, but we always had margin excess and we were not seeking a cash infusion. I am here testifying today far removed from my background. I grew up in a middle-class family in Portland, Maine. I went to a public high school.
We are going to temporarily step away from this hearing on GameStop stock trading to keep our over 40-year commitment to live coverage of Congress. Continue watching online at cspan.org. The U.S. House holding a brief pro forma.
We are online.
Back to the hearing after this.
Let's see if they go back. No, they don't. All right, we'll switch over here.
We do this after extensive
backup
research, sometimes literally for years. When our research convinces us that a company will grow relative to expectations, we make a long-term investment. When our research suggests a company will not live up to expectations and its stock price is overvalued, we might short a stock. Like with our long positions, our practice is to short a stock for the long term after extensive research. We also short stocks because when the markets go down,
we're going to get away from this and go to the 18th hole where Greg Norman is about to putt for birdie.
In addition, it's very important to understand that absolutely none of Melvin's short positions are part of any effort to artificially depress or manipulate downward the price of a stock. Nothing about our short position prevents a company from achieving its objectives. It is just Melvin's view about whether it will. Specific to GameStop, we had a research-supported view well before the recent events. In fact, we had been short GameStop since Melvin's inception 6 years earlier, because we believed and still believe that its business model, selling new and used video games in physical stores, is being overtaken by digital downloads through the internet. And that trend only accelerated in 2020 when, because of the pandemic, people were downloading video games at home. As a result, the gaming industry had its best year ever, but GameStop had significant losses. In January 2021,
so he's defending the short.
Posts about Melvin's specific investments. They took information contained in our SEC filings and encouraged others to trade in the opposite direction. Many of these posts were laced with anti-Semitic slurs directed at me and others.
That's true.
The post said things like, "It's very clear we need a second Holocaust. The Jews can't keep getting away with this." Others sent similarly profane and racist text messages.
That the amount. Listen, when I heard this guy's name, Gabriel Plotkin, I was worried we were even going to start seeing anti-Semitic comments because that is a virus that is everywhere right now.
The unfortunate part of this episode is that ordinary investors who were convinced by a misleading frenzy to buy GameStop at $100, $200, or even $483 have now lost significant amounts. When this frenzy began, Melvin started closing out its position in GameStop at a loss. Not because our investment thesis had changed, but because something unprecedented was happening. We also reduced many other Melvin positions at significant losses, both long and short, that were the subject of similar posts. I'm personally humbled by what happened in January. Investors in Melvin suffered significant losses. It is now our job to earn it back. And while I do not think that anyone could have anticipated these events, I've learned much from them and I'm taking steps to protect our investors from anything like this happening in the future. I look forward to answering your questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Plotkin. Mr. Huffman, you are now recognized for 5 minutes to present your oral testimony.
Thank you. Madam Chairwoman, Mr. Ranking Member, honorable members of the committee, my name is Steve Huffman. I am the co-founder and CEO of Reddit, and I'm pleased to talk with you today about how Reddit works and what we have seen on our site in the past.
He's going to explain how Reddit works to Maxine Waters.
Reddit's mission is to bring community and belonging to everyone in the world. What started in 2005 as a single community has since evolved into a vast network of many thousands of communities.
As a show of good faith, I will be gifting all members of Congress on this committee Reddit Gold for 2 months.
Culture to support. For example, our unemployment community has become a source of support for hundreds of thousands of Americans who have turned to Reddit after losing their jobs during the pandemic. Our communities are created and run by our users. Because of this, we describe Reddit as the most human place on the internet. Though we are small compared to the largest platforms, our communities provide an online home for millions of people every day. I'd like to share a bit about how content moderation on Reddit works. Reddit's moderation system starts with our content policy, the platform-wide rules which all communities must follow. Among other things, these rules prohibit hate, harassment, bullying, and illegal activity on Reddit, and they are enforced by Reddit's anti-evil team, which is composed of engineers, data scientists, and other specialists. This team also ensures the integrity of the site, and we have continuously honed our methods to stay ahead of bad actors to protect Reddit from manipulation, spam, and other threats. This team searched high and low for the specific comment mentioned in the previous testimony, or anything like it.
I would love for him to give us the background on his Reddit username Spez and what the story is with that.
Such speech is not tolerated on Reddit, and we will of course investigate any further claims of this nature. Centralized moderation is common, but Reddit additionally uses a governance structure akin to a federal democracy, where the aforementioned policies and teams represent the federal government and the communities themselves represent states. All communities, or subreddits, are created by users that we call moderators. They set the community's rules, which may be as strict as they like, as long as they are not in conflict with the platform-wide policies, and they have a variety of tools of enforcing these rules independently. Moderators are not paid employees, but rather users who are passionate about their communities.
Isn't that the
They
truth?
have the context and judgment to make decisions no algorithm could. The members of each community contribute both the content itself and the ranking of it by voting up or down on any post or comment. Unlike other platforms where submission has a built-in audience through the author's follower count, every piece of content on Reddit, no matter how famous the author, starts at 0 and has to earn its visibility. Through their votes, the community itself enforces not just the explicit rules of their community, but also the unwritten rules that define their culture. This layered approach has helped our users create the most authentic communities online. The specific community we'd like to talk about today is WallStreetBets. It's important to understand that WallStreetBets is one of many finance and investing related communities on Reddit. This particular community specializes in higher risk, higher reward investments than what you might find in other more conservative financial communities.
I love that.
With such names as personal finance, investing, and financial independence. I will stress that WallStreetBets is first and foremost a real community. The self-deprecating jokes, the memes, the crass at times language all reflect this. And if you spend any time on WallStreetBets, you'll find a significant depth to this community exhibited by the affection its members show one another. They are just as quick to support a fellow member after a big loss as they are to celebrate after a big gain. A few weeks ago, we saw the power of community in general and of this community in particular when the traders of WallStreetBets banded together at first to seize an investment opportunity not usually accessible to retail investors, but later more broadly to defend all retail investors against the criticism of the financial establishment. With the increase in attention, WallStreetBets unsurprisingly faced a surge in traffic and new users. At Reddit, our first duty in these situations is to our communities, and our role in this moment was to keep WallStreetBets online. Working around the clock, we scaled our infrastructure, made technology changes to help this community withstand the onslaught of traffic, and we acted as diplomats to help resolve conflict within WallStreetBets leadership. We have since analyzed the activity in WallStreetBets to determine whether bots, foreign agents, or other bad actors played a significant role. They have not. In every metric we checked, the activity in WallStreetBets was well within normal parameters, and its moderation tools were working as expected. We will, of course, cooperate with valid legal requests from federal and state regulators. That said, we do believe that this community was well within the bounds of our own policies. To conclude, I would like to reiterate why it is important to protect online communities like WallStreetBets. WallStreetBets may look sophomoric or chaotic from the outside, but the fact that we're here today means they've managed to raise important issues about fairness and opportunity in our financial system. I'm proud they use Reddit to do so. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Very strong. Real quick, thank you to Jeeves Murphy, as well as Denise Laurie for signing up at joinpacman.com. They'll continue here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huffman. Mr. Gill, you are now recognized for 5 minutes to present your oral testimony.
Thank you, Chairwoman Waters, Ranking Member McHenry, members of the committee. I'm happy to discuss with the committee my purchases of GameStop shares and my discussions of their fair value.
Oh, this is the best.
It is true that my investment in that company multiplied in value many times. For that, I feel enormously fortunate. I also believe the current price of the shares demonstrates that I've been right about the company. A few things I am not. I am not a cat. I am not an institutional investor, nor am I a hedge fund. I do not have clients, and I do not provide personalized investment advice for fees or commissions. I'm just an individual whose investment in GameStop and posts on social media were based upon my own research. And
this is the best.
I grew up in Brockton, Massachusetts. My family was not wealthy.
This guy's actually a coworker of a friend of mine.
Registered nurse.
Or he was till he got all that money.
And the first in my family to earn a 4-year college degree when I graduated from Stonehill College in 2009. That was not a good time to be looking for a job. From 2010 to 2017, I worked at a few startup companies, but there were significant periods when I was unemployed. I took an interest in the stock market, and even though I had very little money, I used those times to educate myself and learn more about investing. In 2019, after nearly 2 years unemployed, I accepted a marketing and financial education job at MassMutual. My wife, Caroline, and I were thrilled that I had an income and benefits. My job was to help develop financial education classes that advisors could present to prospective clients. I was not a stockbroker or a financial advisor. I did not talk to clients, and I did not recommend stocks for them to buy. Before and after I joined MassMutual, I studied and followed stocks. One of those was GameStop. In early June of 2019, the price of GameStop stock declined below what I thought was its fair value. I invested in GameStop in 2019 and 2020 because, as I studied the company, I became more and more confident in my analysis. Two important factors, based entirely on publicly available information, gave me confidence that GameStop was undervalued. First, the market was underestimating the prospects of GameStop's legacy business and overestimating the likelihood of bankruptcy. I grew up playing video games and shopping at GameStop, and I plan to continue shopping there. GameStop stores still provide real value to consumers and reliable revenue for GameStop. Second, I believe that GameStop has the potential to reinvent itself as the ultimate destination for gamers within the rapidly growing $200 billion gaming industry. GameStop has a unique opportunity to pivot toward a technology-driven business. By embracing the digital economy, GameStop may be able to find new revenue streams.
It's almost like an advisor to
that vastly exceed
GameStop
the
all of a
value
sudden.
of its business. I am hardly the only person who has advocated these points. When I wrote and spoke about GameStop in social media with other individual investors, our conversations were no different from people in a bar or on a golf course or at home talking or arguing about a stock. Hedge funds and other Wall Street firms have teams of analysts working together to compile research and analyze shares of companies. Individual investors do not have those resources. Social media platforms like Reddit, YouTube, and Twitter are leveling the playing field. The idea that I use social media to promote GameStop stock to unwitting investors and influence the market is preposterous. My post did not cause the movement of billions of dollars into GameStop shares. It is tragic that some people lost money, and my heart goes out to them. But what happened in January just demonstrates again
that I made a lot of money.
Public securities is extremely risky. As I said earlier, I consider myself and my family fortunate with our investment. When the stock price broke $20 in December, I knew my investment was a success. I was so happy to visit my family in Brockton for the holidays. The money will go such a long way for us. We had an incredibly difficult 2020. Most difficult was the tragic and unexpected loss of my sister Sarah in June. I am grateful to be in a position to give back to and support my family. As for what happened in January, others will have to explain it. It's alarming how little we know about the inner workings of the market. And I am thankful that this committee is examining what happened. I also want to say that I support retail investors' right to invest in what they want, when they want. I support the right of individuals to send a message based on how they invest.
It does sound like there's a cash register dinging in the background.
I'm as bullish as I've ever been on a potential turnaround for GameStop, and I remain invested in the company. Thank you. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Ms. Schlupp, you are now recognized for 5 minutes to present your oral testimony.
What a day.
Chairwoman Waters, Ranking Member McHenry, and distinguished members of the Committee on Financial Services. My name is Jennifer Schulp, and I am the Director of Financial Regulation Studies at the Cato Institute's Center for Monetary and Financial Alternatives. Thank you for the opportunity to take part in today's hearing. Before addressing the GameStop phenomenon specifically, I'd like to talk about the participation of retail or individual.
I actually have no idea why she's here. Cato Institute is a right-wing think tank. I just don't know what her role is in this.
But the recent upward trend accelerated sharply during the pandemic. Most point to zero commission trading, but several other factors also likely attracted retail investors, including fractional share trading, low account minimums, and easy app-based platforms. More time at home during the pandemic probably even played a role.
I'll be right back. I got a delivery.
In our equities markets is important. The fact that retail investors behave differently from institutional ones and differently from each other can be particularly valuable in times of market stress. In fact, individual investors may have helped stabilize the market in March 2020. Importantly, investing in the stock market also provides a path to wealth for individual investors. But stock ownership traditionally has been skewed towards the already wealthy, and it is highly correlated with race, education, and age. Retail investors making up this new surge are different. Recent research by the FINRA Investor Education Foundation and NORC at the University of Chicago found that investors who opened accounts for the first time in 2020 were younger, had lower incomes, and were more racially diverse. These new investors also held lower account balances. This may portend, as one of the researchers noted, quote, a shift towards more equitable investment participation. These new opportunities for individuals to grow their wealth should be welcomed and expanded, not restricted. Now I'll turn to GameStop. At the outset, I will note that it is difficult to analyze the impact of the trading in GameStop and other stocks because many facts are unknown. But some things seem clear. Importantly, the temporary volatility in these stocks did not present a systemic risk to market function. As the Treasury Department recognized, the market's, quote, core infrastructure was resilient during high volatility and heavy trading volume. This is not surprising. Despite the huge trading volume and rapid increase in value, only a small part of the market was affected, and spillover effects on the wider market were mild and short-lived. The fact that GameStop traded temporarily, and perhaps still trades above fair estimates of the company's value, is not, by itself, a reason for concern. Stock prices move in and out of alignment all the time, and markets are no strangers to bubbles. If a company is valued by the market differently than a review of its fundamentals suggests, it might indicate that the analysis is missing relevant information about a company's prospects, or it might indicate that the company's stock price is due for a correction. The market's mechanisms, including the tool of short selling, generally work well to handle these circumstances. Stepping in to prevent trading where a stock price moves contrary to conventional wisdom could deprive the market of important information. The SEC, among a host of others, is reviewing the relevant trading and conducting a study of the events. The SEC will have access to far more information than has been made publicly available, and I believe it has the tools necessary to address any harmful misconduct that may have occurred. I cannot opine on whether any regulatory changes are warranted on this incomplete record. I tend to believe the answer will be no in light of the minimal impact on the market's function.
It's Cato.
But if regulators learn more, there may be areas...
It's weird to have an anti-regulation spokesperson come on and be like, I think we don't need regulation. Like, maybe we do, maybe we don't, but why ask Cato?
...to the markets. Thank you, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Schlupp. I now recognize myself 5 minutes for questions. The market volatility surrounding GameStop and other securities has highlighted how many people feel that the cards are stacked against them and that market participants, like our witnesses, hide the ball. Mr. Teneve, you explained that Robinhood restricted transactions in certain securities to meet demands coming from your clearinghouse. And yet, on January 28th, you represented to the media that there was no liquidity problem. Isn't it true that being concerned about having enough capital to meet deposit requirements, isn't that a liquidity problem? Or could you just answer yes or no?
Chairwoman Waters, I appreciate the opportunity to address that.
Just yes or no?
We always felt comfortable with our liquidity and the additional capital that Robinhood raised.
Please answer yes or no.
She has a gavel.
We always felt
I get
comfortable
through
with
my
our
5
liquidity.
minutes. I don't have time. I just need a yes or no answer.
I stand by my statement. The additional capital we raised wasn't to meet capital requirements or deposit
So the
requirements.
gentleman,
Excuse me.
I'm reclaiming my time. This liquidity problem had real consequences for your customers, but I wonder if they were all that surprised. Between December 2019 and December 2020, Robinhood customers experienced monetary losses due to system outages. Customer accounts were reportedly compromised. The firm repeatedly failed to testify its best execution obligations, and it misled its customers regarding its revenue sources. It seems retail investors often get a bad deal at Robinhood. Mr. Tenney, also, while you testified today that, quote, Robinhood's customers benefit greatly from payment for order flow, quote unquote, in December 2020, the SEC charged Robinhood for not disclosing that it was getting paid to send customer trades to Citadel Securities and other market makers, and for not seeking the best terms for its customers' orders. Robinhood provided such inferior trade prices, it cost your customers over $34 million. Is your testimony after Robinhood paid, is it your testimony after Robinhood paid the SEC $65 million to settle those charges, that this conflict of interest is in your customers' best interest? Yes or no?
Chairwoman Waters, first, let me say regulatory compliance is at the center of everything that we do. We've made mistakes in the past. I'm not claiming that.
Everybody's playing a role. Maxine Waters is reading stuff that clearly she doesn't really deeply understand in terms of the issues, and he's reading pre-written answers to avoid answering yes or no.
Reason that
gentleman can answer yes or no. I'm reclaiming my time. Meanwhile, Mr. Griffin, Citadel's role in this event also raises significant questions.
A lot of Dogecoin here.
Citadel Securities pays Robinhood tens of millions of dollars to process trades by Robinhood's customers. This relationship gives Citadel Enterprise key non-public information as to direction and volume of trades by retail investors. Your firm makes use of private exchanges called dark pools and other off-exchange trading to trade large sizes without moving the market against you. In fact, at some point last month, 50% of all trades occurred in dark pools or via OTC off-exchange trades. Your business strategy is designed intentionally to undermine market transparency and skim profits from companies and other investors. One problem, though, Mr. Griffin, is that we don't really know how central your firm has become to the capital markets. Mr. Griffin, does Citadel handle 47% of the U.S. listed retail volume? Please, yes or no.
Excuse me, Chairman Waters, what percentage? I couldn't hear that number.
47%.
So, Chairman Waters, to the best
yes
of my knowledge, so the odd, to the best of my knowledge, we handle in excess of roughly 40% of all retail volume.
Thank you very much. Reclaiming my time. Mr. Griffin, on January 27, did Citadel execute 7.4 billion shares for retail investors, which would be more trades than the average daily volume of the entire United States equities market in 2019? Yes or no?
Chairman Waters, that was my written and oral testimony.
Thank you very much. And with that, I now recognize the distinguished ranking member, Mr. McHenry, for 5 minutes for questions.
This is pretty wacky.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tanev, I'm going to come to you first. I just want to get to what happened on that day in January. So let's take a step back here. You get a call in the middle of the night, according to what I've heard you in interviews say. And based off that conversation with your compliance team, you decided to halt the buying of GameStop stock. People were furious. We'll get into the regulations and the settlement parts of that today. We will get to that. But this is what I think needs to be answered about your decision. Why did Robinhood restrict the buying but not the selling of GameStop?
All right.
And why did folks get locked out on the buy side only?
Ranking Member McHenry, I appreciate the opportunity to address that. The reason that Robinhood, first of all, let me say Robinhood is always committed to providing access. It's in our name. It's in everything that we do. The decision to restrict GameStop and other securities was driven purely by deposit and collateral requirements imposed by our clearinghouses. So buying
why?
securities.
But why?
Buying securities
why
increases our
buying?
collateral requirements. Selling does not. Moreover, preventing customers from selling is a very difficult and painful experience where customers are unable to access their money. So we don't want to impose that type of experience on our customers unless we have no other choice. And even though I recognize customers were very upset and disappointed that we had to do this, I imagine it would have been significantly worse if we prevented customers from selling.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Is payment for order flow legal?
Yes, payment for order flow is legal and regulated and
is
a
this
common
disclosed?
industry.
And is this disclosed to those users of your app?
Yes, payment for order flow is disclosed in multiple places. And moreover, payment for order flow enables commission-free trading. And that's why it's become the industry standard model, as other brokerages have replicated our model and started offering commission-free trading to their customers as well.
Okay, so to that, to this greater point of what happened that day and the model that you're using, let's be crystal clear. That decision you made to restrict the buying but not the selling of GameStop was based, what was it based on pressure from anyone on the witness panel here today?
Not at all. Zero pressure from anyone. It was a collateral depository requirement decision made by our Robinhood Securities president.
All right, so let me get into this other question. Let me get into this question. You want to democratize finance. You want to open up Wall Street to retail investors. You say that Robinhood's mission is to democratize finance for all. So let's talk about that. So yes or no, can a Robinhood customer invest in Robinhood, the company?
Robinhood's currently a private company, so that's not possible, no.
And so you mean to tell me that the people that use your platform, that make you a successful company, and I would say directly contribute to your company's exponential growth and success, they don't get the same access to equity shares as a Robinhood employee or your institutional investors. Is that correct?
Currently, that is correct, yes.
All right, Ms. Schulp, let me pivot to you. Why is that? Why is it that everyday investors on the Robinhood app, people that I would argue contributed to its success?
Does he know how private companies work? Like just because I buy stuff at Best Buy doesn't automatically give me ownership.
Those folks that are known as accredited investors. And to become an accredited investor, you have to have meet a wealth test of earning at least $200,000 a year, or having a net worth of over $1 million. The vast majority of people in this country don't meet that standard and are unable to invest in most private companies.
Okay, so let me just clear this. Mr. Tenev, I don't blame you for the restriction you put on your customers not being able to invest in equity. I'd like to have more opportunity to ask Mr. Gill his thoughts on this, but let me just say this. I don't fault you for the inequitable regulatory structure that DC has created, but I think we need to clear this up. Final thing, Madam Chair, I have for the record, I'd like to submit a letter from the DTCC, which is the clearing company that was not on the panel today, and your staff has this letter already. All right, thank you all, and look forward to getting to the facts that matter here today.
Other members, Ms. Maloney, you
Thank
recognize
you, Chairwoman Waters and Ranking Member McHenry for convening this hearing. I hope today's hearing sheds light on how our markets are working, or in many cases are not working, for smaller investors and ways we can fix that. The events of late January saw tremendous volatility and stock prices that were totally divorced from market fundamentals. The whole enterprise was viewed by some as a giant video game, trading stocks instead of properties and monopoly money. But it's not all fun and games, because people can lose their life savings, their hard-earned cash, and tragically, last summer we know of at least one suicide linked to potential trading losses. Beyond those possible losses, the actions of Robinhood and other trading platforms during the GameStop frenzy caused confusion, anger, and undermined investor confidence in the fundamental fairness of our capital markets. None of this is healthy for our markets or good for investors. What makes markets work fairly is when everyone knows the rules and that the rules remain consistent and predictable and are enforced. But because of Robinhood's actions, too many customers did not get that predictability. Many retail investors woke up on January 28th to find that they could no longer buy and sell stocks the same way they could the days prior. And they were being treated differently than other market participants who could still buy and sell those same stocks. So I don't blame them for thinking that things were stacked against the little guy. Mr. Tinev, you stated in your testimony
They have 5 minutes. She's been talking for 3.
securities, including GameStop, in order to meet your financial requirements with your clearinghouse. But when I go to Robinhood's website and the blog post you initially released on January 28th, your financial requirements with your clearinghouse are not mentioned. You only mention market volatility. And when I review the Robinhood customer agreement, you don't include specifics on how and when you may decide to restrict trading, which you did. And you don't include any language or disclosures regarding your capital requirements. It only includes vague language that at any time and in its sole discretion, Robinhood can restrict trading. In other words, you seem to reserve the right to make up the rules as you go along. So I have 2 questions for you. First, do you think you owe your customers more disclosure and transparency than you gave them? And second, do you believe your lack of candor with your customers might have contributed to the wild speculation and confusion that resulted in the aftermath of your trading restrictions?
Congresswoman, I appreciate the question. So to answer the second question, look, I'm sorry for what happened. I apologize. And I'm not going to say that Robinhood did everything perfect and that we haven't made mistakes in the past. But what I commit to is making sure that we improve from this, we learn from it, and we don't make the same mistakes in the future. And Robinhood as an organization will learn from this and improve to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I'll make sure of that.
Well, I expect we will experience future events with increased volatility, and Robinhood's recent actions appeared arbitrary, which is why I don't blame customers for feeling treated unfairly. Your trading restrictions came out of the blue, and your communication was not clear. So my next question, Mr. Tinev, looking forward, what operational changes is Robinhood making to better respond to future market volatility, to improve transparency with your customers, and to ensure retail customers don't get the rug pulled out from under them at the last minute?
Thank you for that question, Congresswoman. We'll be committing to reviewing absolutely everything about this. The $3.4 billion that we raised, I think, goes a long way to cushioning the firm from future market volatility and other similar black swan events. And I believe that even throughout this process, we improved our risk management processes and strengthened them so that the experience customers had on Friday of that week was much improved from Thursday.
Thank you.
We'll continue to learn and improve upon this.
Ms. Wagner, you're recognized for
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'd like to welcome our witnesses for testifying today to discuss the late January market volatility that took place, along with what I hope is a broader discussion on market functions and their effect on everyday investors. Since I was very first elected, I have advocated for America's Main Street investors and worked tirelessly to ensure that all Americans, especially those low and middle income savers, are given the investment choice, access, and affordability that they deserve. Retail investors are the strength of our stock market. And I have fought throughout my career for their best interests in the financial markets. And this hearing today is no different. The advances in financial technology that we've witnessed in the last decade have improved the way that Americans and our businesses perform financial activities. In just the past year, we have seen retail investors' market participation more than double. And I think this is great. I believe in the wisdom of the retail investor. And I will say I believe in the First Amendment, too. This increase is attributed to Robinhood and other trading brokerages who are lowering account minimums, permitting fractional share trading, and implementing zero commission trading. It is critical that Congress focus on reducing barriers to market participation, which is rarely want to do, let me sadly say, and allowing Main Street Americans access to the financial instruments that can create long-term investment savings. All of these changes have given millions of Americans the ability to invest better for their families and their future. My hope is that the majority does not use this hearing as an excuse to once again add new federal regulatory burdens to an industry that is already heavily regulated, that will prevent people from participating in our capital markets.
Imagine thinking the financial industry is too heavily regulated.
Everyday investors with new and more costly barriers to entry. Mr. Tanev, it appears at the time your company did not have enough money to meet the collateral requirements for that level of trading by your customers. In your view, A, were collateral requirements from the DTCC unreasonably high? Was the amount of trading on your platform unforeseeable? Or was your company undercapitalized given its risk profile?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. So this event was a 5 Sigma event, which is a 1 in 3.5 million event. To put that in context, there have only been tens of thousands of stock market days in the history of the US stock market. So a 1 in 3.5 million event basically is unmodelable. That said, we can learn from it. And in this particular case, our risk management processes worked appropriately to keep us in compliance with all of our deposit requirements and collateral requirements.
Well, Mr. Tanev, I realize that you are doing a full review of your practices and such. I encourage you to do that. And certainly communication with your investors is going to be key to that because you didn't communicate with them early on. Let me just say, as the ranking member on the Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee, I am delighted to be speaking with our witness, Ms. Jennifer Schulp. Ranking Member McHenry and I have spent countless hours stressing the importance of having qualified women in finance. So I'm pleased to have you here today to lend your expertise. Ms. Schulp, we now know that it was the daily collateral demands set by the National Security Clearing Corporation that were the reason Robinhood had to temporarily restrict trading. Can you briefly explain the purpose of these capital requirements and their overall relationship to ensuring our markets function in an orderly manner? And did you see any broad failures of market function during these events, ma'am?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. The NSCC's collateral requirements here serve the function to provide security for the stock settlement process goes through. So while an investor thinks that what has happened is they bought a stock on the day that they make a trade, it really takes 2 days for the settlement process to clear. During that time, the brokerage firm, the DTCC, and the brokerage firm on the other side can remain at risk of that stock not actually clearing.
All right, guys. So this is probably enough for me. I'm not going to lie. This is not exactly going in the direction because of the technical situation that allows this to be even remotely productive. So I am going to cover the Mars landing, but I'm going to reset the stream and do a different stream title and be back in about a half hour. And we'll pick up right where we left off. So I want to say thanks to Paul Meisner, as well as Hannah Cervantes. Everybody counts. All these new members count. We'll pick up the Twitch number as well, which is a +3. And I'm going to be back with everybody in about a half hour. It's just impossible to even follow what's going on. The tech is a disaster. They're ranting and raving for 3 of their 5 minutes of questions. So we'll do a clip with highlights from this. I'm going to briefly step away. We're going to reset and be back for the Mars landing in about a half hour, which I'm very much looking forward to.